Browning with Wallflower Greetings. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I am going to show you a quick and easy card. This is just basically sponging with some little seeds to make a watermelon, and this is pretty easy, so let's go ahead and get started. You really don't need a whole lot of materials for this. Let me show you what we're going to need. You're going to need some paper, of course. You're going to need your card base, and I'm going to put all the measurements down below, so don't worry about that. So this is a standard card base. Then I also have a layering piece of black, which is the same size as the card base. And I like doing that because I would rather save my black for other things, so I didn't make the entire base black. So that's a way to save cardstock. So I just cut my piece to fit the front of the card. So you're going to need a layer piece, and then the front piece is 1/4 of an inch smaller all the way around for the front part of the card. And that's all the main pieces you need. You also need a scratch piece or a scrap of black cardstock so that you can make your watermelon seeds. So let me show you what you're going to do with that. We're going to use this tree builder punch, and if you notice right here there's a little teardrop or raindrop shape, and that's what we're going to be using to make the watermelon seeds. You're also going to need some ink. So I'm using 4 different colors. You could probably get away with maybe even 3, but I wanted the depth and the variety of color that you see in this card. And so I'm going to go with 4 different colors. This is Emerald Envy. This is Lemon Lime Twist. This one is Flirty Flamingo. And oh, you know what? I don't want real red. Somehow that got in with the rest of it. Let me go grab the actual color that I want. Okay. Sorry about that. Here's the actual color we're going to use. Berry Burst. That's a little bit better. That looks more like watermelon. Okay. So those are the colors we're going to use, and I usually start, and you're also going to need some sponges, by the way. And you notice these are just all stained and everything. As long as they're dry, it doesn't really matter. Some people mark the colors with just a little tag so that they don't mix anything. As long as they're dry, then it's okay. I do try to match the color as close as possible to what I'm using, but it should be fine. These come in circles, and I just cut them down. These are a 1/4 of a circle, so a little wedge. I've started cutting them down to even smaller, to 1/8 of a wedge, like that. So, because you don't really need that much for sponging. Also, I'm using a stamp set that is a photopolymer stamp set, and I'll show you how to use that here in a minute, but they're very clear if you've never seen the photopolymer. We're using the Sweet Sentiment from this set right here, which is called Cool Treats. And in the annual catalog, it even has Thinlits that cut out the shapes of the popsicles and the ice cream cones. So it's pretty cool. It's got lots of neat, fun, summery things in it, and some good, I like the fonts actually, like the Happiest Birthday, Cool, Sweet, lots of different fonts, kind of a mixture, which I really like. Okay, so you're also going to need some scrap paper to work on so that you protect your surface. So I'm actually going to move this out of the way so we can work. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do sponging first. So I'm going to take my piece of Whisper White, my card front, and I'm going to take some sponges here. And I like to start with the darkest color first. And this is a landscape card, but I'm going to turn it portrait up and down. And I'm going to work on the top part of the card that you see here, which is this green color. And I'm using a combination of 2 different colors. So the first one we're going to start with is the Emerald Envy. And I'm going to grab a sponge. And it's just like, so I am right-handed, so of course I'm using my right hand, and I'm going from the right, the top kind of part of the card. And I'm going to go down a little ways, and then I'm going to go over the top of it and come down a little farther with this green. And I'm going to pick a sponge that kind of is closely, kind of matches. This is good, so this green right here will work for that. Actually, I'm going to do the darker green. So I'm going to use this end, and I'm losing my voice. That's lovely. Okay, so that's why you need the scrap paper underneath. You're going to come from off the scrap paper onto your card. And, you know, I don't care for this card. When you're sponging, sometimes you want a more solid blended look. I am not really caring too much about this particular card because that's part of the effect for watermelon. You know, it's not like a nice soft necessarily blended look that I'm going for. So it's okay if I have little splotches of color, that's all right. Looks like I already got a little splotch right there, but that's okay. We're just going to keep blending, and it doesn't look like much when you first put it on. It really doesn't. You can make your green as thick or as thin of a strip than you as you want. And you may have to do several, go over this several times to get the darkness that you want. And you just keep adding in color. And my camera is shaking. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be gentle here. My table is not the most sturdy that I'm using. So that's what that looks like so far. I'm actually going to come in, because this will actually brighten it up and make it a little darker. I'm going to come in over the top with the Emerald Envy. And I'm going to use this lighter side of my sponge. And I don't know if you can tell as I'm working this in. I'm going to actually move these out of the way so you can see this a little better. It's actually brightening this up quite a bit. In fact, it changed it. And I'm going to go past the dark green line a little bit into the white of the card a little bit more. And I'm really liking that. And I'm actually going to come and sort of do a little bit of a curve to it as well, like a wedge of watermelon. And this is nice and bright. Okay. All right, so the next piece, the next color we're going to do a lighter color. And this is going to be the Flirty Flamingo, so we'll do that next. Close these up. And I can always come back in with the green if I want it even darker when I start adding in the other colors, just for balance, you know, so you can just keep adding to this as much as you want. All right, so for this, use another sponge. And I'm going to actually turn it around where now the green is over on my left-hand side. And I'm going to come from the top down and kind of put a little, and it's very, very light, so I don't even know if you can see it on the camera. I'm just going to start working in a little swath of that Flirty Flamingo pink. And I'm actually leaving a little bit of a white space in between the green and the pink. So I want just a little bit of white space. And like I said, I have a little bit of a splotch of this green from the, I don't know, probably had ink on my fingers already, which is something that happens when you're sponging. But I think you'll notice that it'll work, it'll look natural, and it'll work into the entire card here in a minute. And I don't want a whole lot of this. I'm just going to work some in, keep working it in, coming down the card. Okay, so that's good for the moment. I may come back and add some more in. So it's very, very subtle. Then the next color that I'm going to do, which is most of the color on this card, which is this Berry Burst. Now, it's a really bright color, so you want to be gentle. You may want to, you know, just be real careful with it because you may get more than you want. So I'm going to test it first on my paper. So see how much, I just barely dabbed some on here, and it's quite a bit of color. Now I want this a pretty vibrant color, but I'm going to build it in layers just like I did the green. So I'm going to come from the paper onto the card. And again, this is going to look splotchy somewhat, but if you look at my watermelon card, that's the way watermelon kind of actually looks. So I'm not worried about that. And it, again, doesn't look like much when you're first putting this together. You're thinking, ugh, I don't know about this, but it does come together. Okay. And you notice I'm not taking my time on this. I'm not, you know, not really caring. I'm just kind of putting it on there, just going across it. Now, if I was doing a more of a blended look, I would want to be more careful about how I put this on. So I'm going towards that lighter pink that I put on, and I'm blending that in. I'm just building more and more, adding more and more to it. I'm even going to go a different direction with it. There we go. Maybe blend it a little bit more. Put some in the middle here. And you can actually kind of start to see it looking more like a watermelon as we're doing this. I'm actually going to take, well, I'm going to do a little darker, and then I'm going to go back with that Flirty Flamingo and put a little bit more in towards the rind. And I'm liking the way that's looking. Okay, so I'm going to close this up. I'm going to do a little bit more Flirty Flamingo, and I may add in a little bit more green as well. Turn this so you can see it a little bit better. Paper's not wanting to move. There we go. All right, so we're going to do a little bit more of the pink for the flamingo. And what did I put my sponge? There it is. I'm going to just add a little bit more to that. Okay. Okay, I like that. It's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to make my green a little bit darker because I think this card here, it's a little bit darker. So I'm just going to go a little bit more with the Emerald Envy. See if I can darken it up. I like that. I think that's pretty good. And you can see that I have more of the pink, more of the watermelon showing than the rind. I just wanted a little bit along the edge of the card because most of it's going to be the meat of the watermelon that I want. And I think that's pretty good. And what really makes it pop, first of all, a couple of things. First of all, that's why I chose the black background. So let me grab that because it really does make that watermelon stand out now. There you go. And then when we put the seeds on, you can definitely really tell what it's supposed to be. So like I said, when you're doing this, it doesn't look like much. You kind of think, gosh, is this really going to turn out the way I want it? But you just keep working with it, adding, you know, in more color till you get to the desired effect that you want. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the punch. Now it's got all these other pieces because this is called a tree builder punch. You've got the canopy of the tree, you've got the branches and the bottom part of the tree. You've got an apple or a pumpkin, depending on what you're doing, a little bird, a teardrop, and a flower. So there's lots of things that you can do with this. It's very versatile. The canopy of the tree, actually you can make rain clouds, and then this could be your little raindrops here. So that's another option for this card. There's really a lot you can do with it. So I'm going to open it up, and I've just got a strip of this black because I don't want a whole lot because this little raindrop is tiny, and I don't want to waste a lot of paper. So I just cut a strip. I don't even know how wide this is. This is probably not even 1/4 of an inch. Well, maybe 1/4 of an inch wide. And I want to put it in where I see my little raindrop in there, and I can kind of line it up. And then I'm going to punch, and I'm going to turn it down so hopefully it won't fly across the room. Now you're going to get a lot of extra stuff that you don't need, so we're going to get that out of the way. So this is a little bit of a messy project, I guess, in terms of you're going to have some paper scraps. But there's our one, and these are tiny. There's my one little teardrop. And I'm going to do another one. I'm just going to push it in there. And I did about, let's see, how many did I do? I think 4? Yeah, 4 of these teardrops. So what I'm going to do is, to save on time and so that you don't have to see me punch these out, I'm going to go ahead and punch 2 more out, and then I'm going to come back and I'll show you how to put together the card. So stay tuned.